The dirt felt wrong. Courage stood on the porch, his ears flat. The air was too thick, too warm for morning. He looked at the ground. It moved. Not much. Just a little. Like breathing. He backed away. Muriel came out with her watering can. She smiled at him. Beautiful day, isn't it? Courage looked at the sky. Gray, heavy. The clouds hung low, almost touching the fields. Eustace sat in his chair reading the paper. He didn't look up. Muriel walked to her garden. The corn was taller than usual, green, too green. The stalks bent toward her as she passed. Courage whined. "Oh, hush," Muriel said. She knelt by the tomatoes. Her trowel bit into the soil. The sound was wet, wrong, like cutting into something that used to be alive. She stopped, tilted her head. "Now what's this?" Her hand went into the dirt. Deeper. She pulled. A piece of glass came up. Green, cloudy, about the size of her palm. Something moved inside it. Slow, thick, like oil in water. "How pretty," she said. Courage barked. Sharp. Once. Muriel brushed dirt off the glass. It was warm. She could feel it through her gloves. "I wonder where this came from." The air changed. Not sudden, just a shift. The way a room feels different when someone walks in. Except no one had walked in. And it wasn't a room. Courage's legs shook. He wanted to run, grab Muriel, drag her inside. But he couldn't move. The glass caught the light. Not reflecting, drinking it. The thing inside pressed against the surface, like a hand against a window. Muriel stood, held it up. "Eustace, look at this." Eustace grunted. Didn't look. She smiled, slipped the glass into her apron pocket. "I'll clean it later. Maybe it's worth something." Courage pulled at her dress, his teeth gentle on the fabric. "What's gotten into you?" She patted his head. Went back to her tomatoes. The mist came at noon. Eustace noticed it first. He lowered his paper, squinted at the horizon. Storm coming. There were no clouds, just the mist, rising from the ground, not like fog. Fog rolled. This climbed, slow, deliberate, like it knew where it was going. It smelled sweet. Wrong sweet. Like flowers left too long in a vase. Courage ran to the door, scratched at it. "Stop that," Eustace said. "You just came out." The mist reached the fence, touched it, clung. The wood darkened. Not rotting, not yet. Just softer. Like it had been there for years instead of minutes. Muriel came back from the garden. She had tomatoes in her basket. They were bigger than yesterday. Redder. The skin was too tight. One split as she walked. Juice ran down her hand. "Oh dear," she said. She licked her finger, paused. "That's nice." Courage whimpered. She looked down at him. Her eyes were soft, kind, always kind. "You worry too much." The mist touched the porch steps. Eustace stood. "I don't like this." "It's just weather," Muriel said. But her voice was quieter, slower. The mist reached the door. Courage scratched harder, his claws loud on wood. Eustace opened it. "Get in then, stupid dog." They went inside. Courage went to the window, pressed his nose to the glass. The mist was everywhere now. Thick, moving. Not drifting, moving. Like it had joints. In the garden, the corn swayed. There was no wind. Muriel set her basket on the counter. She hummed. Her hand went to her apron pocket, touched the glass, smiled. Eustace turned on the television. Static. He hit it. More static. Blasted thing. Maybe the antenna, Muriel said. Maybe the weather. He glared at the window. The mist pressed against the house. Courage could hear it. A sound like breathing. Low, patient. He went to Muriel, tugged her sleeve. She patted him. Didn't look away from her tomatoes. "I'll make soup. You'd like that, wouldn't you?" He pulled harder. "Courage, please." He let go, sat, shook. Night came early. The sun didn't set. It just faded, like someone turning down a light. The mist glowed. Faint, green, the color of the glass in Muriel's pocket. Eustace closed all the curtains. "Unnatural," he muttered. Muriel made soup. The kitchen smelled good, too good. The tomatoes were sweeter than they should be, richer. Courage didn't eat. "Suit yourself," Eustace said. He took a second bowl. Muriel sat at the table, ate slowly, her eyes half closed. "This is lovely." Courage stayed by the door, watching, waiting. Outside, something laughed. Not loud, not close, just there, in the mist, low and warm and pleased. Muriel didn't hear it. Eustace didn't hear it. Courage heard. He pressed himself against the door, his whole body shaking now. The laugh came again, closer, not moving toward them, just closer, like it had always been there and he was only just noticing. The glass in Muriel's pocket pulsed. Once. Soft. She touched it, smiled in her sleep. Courage didn't sleep. He watched the window, watched the mist, watched it settle over nowhere like a blanket. Heavy, wet, kind. The dirt outside breathed. In, out, in. Something was here, something that didn't need to knock. Morning came, but the sun didn't. The sky was bright, gray bright, like looking at a light bulb through a sheet. Courage hadn't moved from the door. His eyes burned. He blinked, kept watching. The mist was thinner now. It hung in patches, draped over the corn, pooled in the low spots by the fence. It didn't leave, just waited. Muriel came downstairs. She stretched, yawned. What a good sleep. Courage looked at her. Her face was soft, relaxed, more than usual. Like she'd been holding tension for years and only just let go. She went to the kitchen, started the kettle, hummed something low and tuneless. Eustace came down slower, louder. His joints popped with each step. Blasted knees. He sat at the table, looked at his hands, frowned. The skin on his knuckles was darker, not bruised, just thick, like old leather. Muriel. Yes, dear. Look at this. He held up his hand. She glanced over. Looks fine to me. It's not fine. It's... He stopped, flexed his fingers. The darkness spread, crawled up toward his wrist. He shook his hand. Hard. What in the... It didn't hurt. That was the strange part. It should hurt. But it just felt warm, heavy, like his hand was falling asleep, but in reverse. Muriel poured tea, set a cup in front of him. Drink this, you'll feel better. He drank. The warmth spread down his throat, into his chest. He sighed, set the cup down, forgot about his hand. Courage whined. Oh, Courage. Muriel bent down, scratched behind his ears. You didn't eat last night. You must be starving. She filled his bowl. The food looked normal, smelled normal. But Courage didn't move toward it. Muriel frowned. Are you sick? He wasn't sick. He was the only one who wasn't. She stood, went to the window, pulled the curtain back. Look at the garden. The corn had grown overnight. The stalks were twice as tall as yesterday. The ears hung heavy. Silk spilled out like hair. Too much hair. The tomatoes had split their cages. Red fruit everywhere. On the ground. On the vines. Some were the size of Muriel's head. "Goodness," she said. But she smiled. "I've never seen them so healthy." Eustace grunted. Looked at his hand again. The darkness was up to his elbow now. He could see it under his sleeve. He rolled the fabric up. The skin was smooth, seamless, like bark. He tried to be angry. Couldn't quite manage it. Just tired. This day keeps getting stranger. Courage ran to the door, barked. "What now?" Eustace said. Outside, the fence was moving, not swaying, moving. The wood bent, twisted, grew. New posts pushed up from the ground. They were wrong, too organic, more like ribs than wood. The wire between them rusted, turned green, sprouted tiny flowers. Eustace stood, walked to the window, stared. "That's not right." "Maybe we should call someone," Muriel said, but her voice was distant, dreamy. "Call who and say what?" Eustace turned to her, stopped. "Muriel, your hair?" She touched it. "What about it?" It was whiter, not gray-white, snow-white, and thicker. It moved on its own, gentle, like underwater. "It's just the light," she said. "It wasn't the light." Eustace sat back down. His chair creaked. He looked at it. The wood was softer, damp. His weight pressed into it like clay. "Everything's falling apart." "Or coming together," Muriel said. He looked at her. She was gazing out the window, her hand in her apron pocket, holding the glass. Courage paced, door to window, window to door. His claws clicked on the floor. Faster, faster. "Stop that noise," Eustace said. Courage didn't stop. The kettle whistled. Muriel made more tea. She moved slower than usual, each step deliberate, careful, like she was walking on ice. But she wasn't being cautious. She was savoring. She sat at the table, sipped, closed her eyes. "This is nice." Eustace's hand fused to the cup. Not stuck, fused. The ceramic grew into his palm. He tried to pull away, couldn't, didn't really want to. The warmth felt good. He yanked, hard. The cup came free, left a smooth patch on his skin, porcelain-colored. He touched it, smooth as glass. "What is happening to me?" Muriel reached across the table. Took his other hand, the normal one. "It's all right." "It's not all right." "Doesn't it feel better, though?" He opened his mouth, closed it. It did feel better. The ache in his joints was gone. The tightness in his chest, even his back. Silent for the first time in 20 years. "That's not the point," he said. But quieter now. Courage barked, louder, sharper. They both looked at him. "He's been like this all morning," Muriel said. "He's been like this all night," Eustace muttered. Courage ran to Muriel, grabbed her apron, pulled. "Courage, stop." He pulled harder. She stood. "Fine, let's go outside. Maybe you need to run." "Don't," Eustace said. "It's just the yard. Nothing about this is just anything." But Muriel was already at the door. She opened it. The air rolled in, thick, sweet, wrong. Courage planted himself between her and the threshold. She stepped around him. "Come on, then." He had to follow, couldn't let her go alone. Outside, the world had softened. The dirt wasn't hard anymore. It gave under their feet. Not mud. Something else. Alive, breathing. Each step left a print that filled in slowly. Like the ground was healing. The corn rustled. There was no wind. Muriel walked to the garden, touched a tomato. It was warm, pulsing. She picked it, bit into it. Juice ran down her chin. She chewed slowly, smiled. So ripe. Courage pulled at her dress again. In a minute, she picked another, held it out to him. Try it. He backed away. Suit yourself. She ate it, then another. Her eyes half closed. The glass in her pocket throbbed. Courage could see it. A faint glow through the fabric. Green, steady, like a heartbeat. The mist gathered around her feet. Not threatening, gentle, like a cat. She looked down at it, laughed. Well, hello there. Courage barked. Once, desperate. She looked at him, really looked. Her face softened. Oh, sweetheart, you're frightened? He was more than frightened. She knelt, held out her arms. Come here. He didn't move. Please. Something in her voice, old, familiar, still Muriel. He crept forward, let her hold him. She was warm, too warm, but still her. Everything's going to be fine, she whispered. Behind them the house settled. The walls bowed. The windows grew thicker, greener, like bottles. Eustace appeared in the doorway. His whole arm was dark now, smooth. He held it up, looked at it, lowered it. Muriel, we need to leave. Leave? She stood, still holding courage. Why would we leave? Because something is very wrong. I feel wonderful. That's the problem. She tilted her head, studied him. When's the last time you felt this good? He didn't answer. When you didn't hurt? When you didn't ache? When everything was easy? She smiled. It's a gift. It's not a gift. Then what is it? Neither of them had an answer. In the distance, something laughed again. Low, warm, delighted. The corn bent toward them, not falling, bowing. Muriel looked at the field, at the house, at her hands. Maybe we've been fighting too hard. Fighting what? Everything. She sighed, content. Maybe it's time to rest. Courage wriggled free, ran to the door, scratched, barked. Eustace followed, slower, his feet stuck slightly with each step. The ground didn't want to let go. Muriel stayed in the garden. The mist wrapped around her, soft, kind. Muriel, Eustace called. I'll be in soon, she said. I just want to enjoy this for a moment. He looked at Courage. Courage looked at him. For once they agreed. This was wrong. But the wrongness felt so much like peace. Courage went to the attic. He didn't want to leave Muriel outside. But he needed answers. Something that made sense. The computer always made sense, even when nothing else did. The stairs creaked, softer than yesterday. The wood bent under his weight. He climbed faster. The attic was dark, hot, dusty, normal. He felt his chest loosen slightly. He pulled the cord. The bulb flickered, stayed on. The computer sat on the old desk, screen black. He pressed the button, waited. The screen glowed green. Text scrolled. System active. Environmental scan initiated. Analyzing. Courage sat, tail tucked, ears flat. The cursor blinked, stopped, started typing. Warning. Localized reality degradation detected. Classification unknown. Not biological, not mechanical, not magical. Recommendation, leave immediately. Courage whined. The computer paused. Then, you're still here. He nodded. Realized the computer couldn't see him. Barked once. Of course you are. More scrolling. Faster now. Revised analysis, substance detected in soil, air, water. Not toxic, not poison. Worse. It's an idea. Courage tilted his head. The screen flickered. Reset. Clarification, most threats are physical. Ghosts, monsters, aliens. This is conceptual. It spreads like disease, but isn't alive. It changes things by changing how they understand themselves. The dirt doesn't rot. It accepts that rotting is natural. The fence doesn't break. It realizes it was always breaking. Your family isn't being attacked. They're being convinced. Courage's throat tightened. He scratched at the keyboard. The computer continued. Source unknown object in Muriel's possession. Crystalline, extra-dimensional origin. Not from this reality. Contains concentrated entropy, not chaos. Entropy. The difference matters. Courage barked, louder. Translation for canines. Chaos is a storm. Entropy is the calm after everything stops fighting. This thing wants nothing to stop fighting. To accept, to rest, to decay peacefully. The screen went black, came back, and it's working. Courage whimpered. Muriel's vitals elevated happiness. Decreased pain response. Cognitive patterns shifting toward acceptance of physical degradation. Eustace's vitals similar. Resistance weakening. Your vitals elevated stress. Normal fear response. Cognitive patterns. Stubborn. Prognosis, they will be fine. You will not. Courage growled. The computer's fan whirred, almost like a sigh. Correction, they will not be fine. They will be content. There is a difference. You understand this? They do not. Courage pawed at the screen. Recommendation updated. Physical removal of source object ineffective. Contamination has spread beyond original vector. Destroying object dangerous. Unknown reaction. Leaving area logical but incomplete. It will follow. Not because it hunts, because Muriel carries it, and she will not let go. The lights dimmed. Courage looked up. The bulb was greener, thicker, like the glass downstairs. He looked back at the screen. Personal note. I am a machine. I do not feel. But if I did, I would be worried. This isn't a monster you can scare away. It doesn't want to hurt you. It wants to help. And that's worse. The screen flickered. Text changed. Secondary analysis complete. Presence detected. Not localized to object. Object is anchor, not source. Source is elsewhere. Everywhere. In the mist. In the ground. In the air you're breathing. It has always been here. The object just woke it up. Courage's whole body shook. The computer's fan stopped. The silence was loud. Then text. Slow, deliberate. It's listening. Courage spun. Nothing behind him. Nothing in the corners. Just dust, shadows. The usual. But the air had weight now. Presence. Something paying attention. The screen went dark. Came back. Different font. Softer, rounder. Hello, little one. Courage jumped back. Hit the desk. Knocked over a lamp. It didn't break. Just bent. Grew roots into the floorboards. The text continued. You're frightened. I understand. New things are always frightening. But I'm not new. I've always been here, in the dirt, in the rot, in every tired thing that just wants to stop. You feel it too, don't you? That exhaustion, all that running, all that fear. Wouldn't it be easier to rest? Courage barked, backed toward the stairs. The screen followed him. Not physically, but the words appeared no matter where he looked. In the dust on the desk, in the grain of the wood, in the shadow on the wall. I don't want to hurt you. I want to help. Your family understands. They're not fighting anymore. They're accepting. And they're so much happier for it. Courage hit the stairs, scrambled down. The voice followed. Not sound. Just presence. In his head. Under his thoughts. You can't protect them from peace. You can only make yourself suffer trying. He reached the bottom, ran to the living room. Eustace sat in his chair. His whole left side was dark now, smooth. He stared at it, not afraid, just curious. Muriel came in from outside, dirt on her dress, flowers in her hair, real flowers, growing, tiny white blooms. She smiled at Courage. There you are. I was worried. He ran to her, jumped, barked. She caught him, held him. What's wrong? Everything. Everything was wrong. But she smelled like tea, like bread, like home. Under it, something else. Sweet, thick. The smell from the mist. You're shaking, she said. He couldn't stop. She carried him to the couch, sat, held him in her lap. Poor thing. The glass in her pocket pressed against him, warm, pulsing. He tried to pull away. She held tighter. It's all right, I've got you. But she didn't. Not anymore. The voice came again, not from the computer, not from outside, from everywhere. See, she loves you, I love you too. I love everything that hurts, because I can make it stop hurting. That's all I've ever wanted. To make the hurting stop. Courage buried his face in Muriel's dress, closed his eyes. The voice was kind, patient, warm. And that was the most terrifying thing he'd ever heard. Outside, the mist pressed against the windows. Gentle, persistent. The house settled deeper into the ground. The corn grew taller. And somewhere far away, something vast and ancient and unfathomably tender smiled. Nowhere was being cared for, whether it wanted to be or not. Night fell without asking. The sky didn't darken. It thickened, like something poured from above. Heavy, green-tinted. The kind of light that comes through old glass. Courage sat by the window. He hadn't moved in hours. Muriel had tried to feed him. Eustace had yelled at him. Neither worked. He just watched. Outside, nowhere was changing faster. The corn didn't grow anymore. It flowered. Massive blooms opened at the top of each stalk. White petals, wet. They breathed, in and out, slow. When they exhaled, pollen fell like snow. It didn't drift, it crawled across the ground. Seeking, the fence was gone, not broken, transformed. The posts had fused into a wall, organic, ribbed. It pulsed. Courage could see fluid moving through it. Slow circulation. The wall was alive. Or had never been dead. Hard to tell which. Muriel sat at the table, knitting. She'd been working on the same scarf for 3 hours. It was already 20 feet long. The yarn grew from her fingers. She didn't seem to notice. Just hummed, smiled. The flowers in her hair had spread, down her neck, across her shoulders. tiny white blooms. They opened when she was happy. Eustace had given up pretending. His whole left side was changed now, smooth, dark, almost beautiful, like polished wood. He could still move it, still feel it, but it didn't hurt. Nothing hurt. He kept touching it, fascinated. "Muriel," he said. What's happening to us?" She looked up, blinked, considered. "I think we're being taken care of." "By what? Does it matter?" He opened his mouth, closed it, looked at his hand, the dark side, the normal side. Couldn't remember which was which anymore. Courage whimpered. Neither of them heard. The mist outside gathered, thicker than before. It moved with purpose now, not drifting, walking. It pooled in the garden, rose in columns. The columns bent, took shape, almost human, almost. Courage pressed against the glass. The shapes turned toward the house. They had no faces, just suggestions, smile-shaped voids. They raised their arms, not threatening, welcoming. One touched the window. The glass didn't crack, it softened, dimpled inward, like skin. Courage barked, sharp, desperate. Muriel set down her knitting. "What is it, dear?" She came to the window, looked out, saw the shapes, tilted her head. "Oh, visitors." Muriel, no. But she was already at the door. Courage threw himself against it. All 40 pounds of terror. She stepped around him. "Don't be rude." She opened the door. The shapes didn't enter. They waited, patient, kind. Muriel smiled. "Hello?" They didn't speak, couldn't. But the air shifted, warm, welcoming. One held out its arms. In them something glowed. Soft green, pulsing. A flower. Bigger than Muriel's head. Its petals were translucent, veins visible. It dripped something sweet. "For me," Muriel said. The shape nodded. Or the suggestion of nodding. She took it, held it close. The flower nuzzled against her. Warm, alive. "Thank you," she whispered. The shapes bowed, melted back into mist, returned to the garden. Muriel closed the door, looked at the flower. It pulsed in time with her heartbeat. "Isn't it lovely?" Courage backed away. Eustace stood, looked at the flower, at Muriel, at his hand. "We should leave." "Leave?" Muriel laughed. Soft, genuine. "Why would we leave paradise? This isn't paradise." "It could be." She set the flower on the table. It immediately took root. Tendrils spread across the wood, gentle, exploratory. "If we let it." The voice came then, not from the flower, not from outside, from everywhere at once. "You understand?" Muriel nodded, like she'd expected it. Eustace froze. Courage growled. The voice continued. "Patient, warm, ancient. I've waited so long for you to understand. All of you. Fighting, hurting, afraid of the end. But the end is kind. The end is rest." The house groaned, not collapsing, settling, like an old man easing into a chair. The walls breathed. The floor softened. Everything relaxed. "You've worked so hard. For so long. Growing food that dies. Fixing things that break. Holding on to bodies that fail. It's exhausting, isn't it?" Muriel sat, nodded. "Yes. No." Eustace wanted to say no, should say no, but his mouth wouldn't move. Because it was true. He was tired. So tired. 70 years of aching, fighting, surviving. Wouldn't it be easier to stop, not to die, never to die, just to stop fighting, to accept, to let me care for you? The mist seeped under the door, crept across the floor, wrapped around Muriel's ankles. She sighed, content. Eustace watched it come toward him, slow, inevitable, kind. Courage barked, ran between them, stood his ground. The mist stopped. The voice turned its attention, gentle, amused. Ah, the little guardian, still afraid, still fighting. Why? Courage bared his teeth. The mist drew back, not threatened, just giving space. I won't force you. I never force anyone. That would be cruel. And I am not cruel. I am patient. I am kind. I am the rest at the end of all things. And when you're ready, and you will be ready, I will still be here. Waiting, with open arms. The presence swelled, filled the room, the house, the world. Courage felt it pressing down, not crushing, embracing. It would be so easy to give in, to stop shaking, to stop being afraid, to just rest. But Muriel was in that rest, lost in it, smiling at nothing, becoming something that wasn't her. And Courage couldn't let that happen. He barked, again, again, again. The voice chuckled, deep, fond, loyal to the end. How precious, how doomed. But I admire the attempt. The mist retreated. Not gone, just waiting. The voice faded. Not silent, just quiet. You'll see, in time, everyone does. The room was still. Muriel knit. Eustace stared at his hands. The flower on the table bloomed wider. Outside, the garden had spread beyond the fence. The corn walked, slow, deliberate, roots pulled from the ground, took steps, replanted, moved closer to the house. The tomatoes burst, scattered seeds. Each seed sprouted instantly, grew, fruited, burst again. A cycle, endless, joyful. The dirt sang, not metaphor, actual sound, low, harmonic. The vibration of things breaking down and building up at the same time. Nowhere wasn't dying. It was thriving. Just not in any way that should be possible. Courage looked at Muriel. She was halfway gone already. The flowers covered her arms now. She didn't mind, didn't notice. He looked at Eustace. The old man's eyes were distant, glazed. He was deciding. Courage could see it. The moment between resistance and surrender. He looked at the door, at the window, at the world outside turning into something beautiful and terrible. No one was coming to help. No monster to scare away, no curse to break. Just a choice. Accept or don't. Rest or fight. And fighting meant standing alone against something vast and kind and inevitable. Courage's legs shook. But he didn't sit down. Not yet. The voice hummed, pleased. Good, the struggle makes the rest sweeter. Take your time, little one. I have nothing but time. The house creaked. The flowers bloomed. And nowhere Kansas became a garden that smiled. Cats arrived at dawn. Not the dawn nowhere used to have. This one was green, thick. The light moved like syrup. He drove up in his van, red, pristine, out of place. He stepped out, tall, thin, smiling that smile, the one that promised nothing good. Courage saw him from the window, barked once, sharp. Muriel looked up from her knitting. The scarf was dragging on the floor now, pooling. She'd run out of yarn hours ago, but kept knitting anyway. The thread came from somewhere. Oh, a visitor. Katz walked to the door. His shoes sank slightly with each step. The ground tried to hold him, gentle, persistent. He pulled free, frowned, kept walking. He knocked 3 times, polite. Muriel stood. The flowers on her shoulders rustled. She opened the door. Hello? Katz's smile widened. Good morning, madam. I couldn't help but notice your garden. He gestured. The corn had surrounded the house now, a living wall. The stalks breathed in unison. Their flowers tracked movement like eyes. Isn't it beautiful? Muriel said. Remarkable. Katz's eyes gleamed. I'm something of a botanist, an enthusiast, and I've never seen growth quite like this. It's a gift. A gift. He nodded, slow, calculating. From whom? Muriel tilted her head, thought about it. From someone who cares. Katz's tail twitched. I see. And this benefactor, are they looking for compensation? Distribution rights? Exclusive arrangements? I don't understand. Of course not. His smile never faltered. May I come in? Perhaps we could discuss this further. Courage growled. Katz looked down at him. Still here are we. Still the loyal watchdog. He stepped inside, uninvited but confident. That was Katz, always confident. The house welcomed him. The door swung wider than Muriel had pushed it. The floor softened under his feet. Comfortable, like carpet, he noticed. Smiled wider. Eustace sat in his chair, almost entirely transformed now. Only his right arm and part of his face remained unchanged. He looked at Katz, said nothing. My. Katz circled the room, professional, appraising. This is more extensive than I thought. What do you want? Eustace's voice was slower than usual, dreamier. Want? Katz laughed, soft. I'm here to help. Your property has clearly been affected by something extraordinary, valuable. And you forgive me, don't seem equipped to capitalize on it. Capitalize, Muriel repeated, testing the word. Market it, bottle it, share it with the world. Katz touched the wall. It was warm, breathing. Imagine a formula that makes plants grow like this, that takes away pain, that brings peace. He pulled out a card, set it on the table next to the flower. The flower leaned away. I have connections, resources. We could make this beneficial for everyone. It already is, Muriel said. Katz paused, looked at her, really looked, saw the flowers, the calm, the complete surrender. His smile twitched, just slightly. I see, he said. You're already converted? I'm already cared for. Yes, of course. He turned to Eustace. And you? Eustace stared at his hand. The dark one. Flexed it. I don't hurt anymore. Fascinating. Katz pulled out a small notebook. Started writing. And the source, the mechanism, is it the soil? The air? A specific catalyst. Courage barked. Loud. Urgent. Katz ignored him. There must be a center, a focal point. If I could just examine... The air shifted. Katz stopped writing. Looked up. The voice came. Amused. Warm. Another visitor. How delightful. Katz didn't flinch. Ah. The benefactor, I presume? Yes. Excellent. Then we can discuss terms directly. Terms, distribution, licensing. I have a network that spans 3 states. We could spread this phenomenon efficiently, profitably. The voice chuckled. Deep, fond. You want to sell my gifts? I want to share them for appropriate compensation. How clever, how small. Katz's smile hardened. I assure you, my resources are quite substantial. I'm sure they are. But you misunderstand. This isn't a commodity. It's care. Everything can be commodified. Katz closed his notebook. Everything has a price. Does it? The mist began to gather, in the corners, under the furniture, behind Katz. He noticed, stepped back, hand on the door. If you're not interested in partnership, I'll simply document this myself, patent the process. You'll have no legal recourse. The voice laughed. Genuine, delighted. Oh, how wonderful. You think you can steal from entropy? I think I can profit from opportunity. Then let's make a deal. Katz stopped. This was familiar ground. Deals, contracts, terms. I'm listening. Take what you want. Study it. Bottle it. Sell it. But understand, everything you take, you keep. Forever. Meaning every seed of knowledge you gather will grow in you. Every drop of understanding will bloom. You'll carry my gifts wherever you go. Katz considered. Weighed risks, benefits, calculated. Acceptable, he said. The mist surged forward. Katz stumbled back. Too late. It wrapped around his legs, his waist, his chest, gentle, thorough. He tried to pull free, couldn't. The mist was inside him now, in his lungs, his blood, his thoughts. Wait. Too late for that. You wanted to understand. Now you will. Completely. Katz's eyes widened. His notebook fell. Pages scattered. On each page, words appeared. Not written. Growing. Like mold. He looked at his hands. They were changing. Not like Eustace. Worse. His fingers split. Not painfully. Curiously. Each finger became 2, then 4, then 8. A fractal of digits. Each one writing, calculating, planning. But the plans ate themselves. Every scheme he conceived immediately rotted into the reason it would fail. Every manipulation revealed its own hollow core. Every lie showed itself for what it was. He couldn't stop thinking. Couldn't stop planning. But every plan was entropy. Make it stop, he whispered. Why you wanted knowledge. Now you have all of it. Every trick you've ever played, every person you've harmed, every clever cruelty, it's all here. Growing, blooming, eating itself. Katz fell to his knees. His tail split, branched, grew flowers, tiny red blooms that smelled like copper. Courage watched, horrified, fascinated. This was different from Muriel, from Eustace. They had surrendered. Katz had tried to conquer, and the difference mattered. Katz crawled toward the door. His hands left trails, not blood, something thicker. It hardened, became crystal, green, pulsing. The voice followed him, patient, kind, merciless. You can leave. Take your knowledge with you. Spread it. Share it. Isn't that what you wanted? Katz reached the door, pulled himself through, stumbled to his van. He got in, started the engine. His hands barely worked. Too many fingers, all of them shaking. He drove away, fast. The van weaving. Courage watched him go. The trail he left behind glowed. Faint, green, leading back to nowhere. Muriel closed the door. Poor man. Poor, Eustace said. He was so afraid. The voice hummed. He wanted to use me, so I let him. Now he'll carry me everywhere. Every deal he makes, every scheme he plans. He'll spread entropy without meaning to, because he can't help himself. He never could. Courage looked at the door, at the trail, at Muriel. She knelt beside him, petted his head. The flowers on her fingers were soft. "Don't worry," she said. "You're safe here." But safe wasn't the problem. The problem was that everything dangerous felt like kindness. And kindness was winning. Muriel stopped knitting, not because she finished. The scarf stretched through 3 rooms now. A river of wool, still growing. She stopped because her hands had finally bloomed. The flowers covered her fingers completely. White petals, soft. They opened and closed with her pulse. When she tried to move, they moved instead. Gentle, persistent. She looked at them, smiled. "How pretty." Eustace was almost gone. Only his face remained unchanged. Everything else had transformed. Smooth, dark, beautiful in a way that made Courage's stomach turn. He could still talk, still think, but slower now, like speaking through water. "Muriel," he said. "Yes, dear. I can't remember what I was worried about." She reached across the table, took his hand. Hers was petals, his was wood. They fit together perfectly. "That's good," she said. "Worry is so exhausting." Courage stood between them and the door. He'd been standing there for hours, days. Time felt wrong, stretchy. He wasn't sure how long it had been since Katz left. The house was breathing harder now. The walls expanded, contracted. In the kitchen, the sink had grown teeth. Smooth, white. They didn't bite, just smiled. Outside nowhere had become unrecognizable. The corn was taller than the house. The stalks bent inward, creating a dome, a cathedral. Light filtered through green. Everything was green, growing, alive. The ground sang louder, harmonics, complex, beautiful. The song of things falling apart and coming together. The song of entropy as an act of love. Courage's legs shook. They hadn't stopped shaking since Katz, since before. But he didn't sit. Muriel looked at him. Her eyes were kind, distant, like looking at someone through a window. "Come here, sweetheart." He didn't move. "Please." He took one step back. She sighed. The flowers on her shoulders wilted slightly. "You're making this harder than it needs to be." The voice came then, not sudden. It had been there all along, just quiet. Now it spoke. He doesn't understand yet. "Will he?" Muriel asked. "Eventually. Everyone does." Courage growled. Low, constant. The mist gathered in the room, thicker than before. It took shape. Not human, not quite. Something vast trying to fit into a small space. The shape bent down, looked at Courage, no eyes, but attention, total, complete. "You fought so hard, little one." Courage's growl caught, became a whimper. For them, for her. "But look." The shape gestured. At Muriel, at Eustace. They're happy, happier than they've been in years. No pain, no fear, no death, just peace. Isn't that what you wanted for them? Courage barked. Once. Defiant. No. The shape tilted. Curious. "Then, what do you want?" Courage looked at Muriel, at the flowers covering her, at the smile on her face. Empty. Perfect. not hers. He wanted her back, the real her, the one who worried, who hurt, who chose. The shape was silent. Then, you want her to suffer. How cruel. Courage snarled. I'm not mocking you. I understand. You think suffering is living. That pain proves existence. That struggle has meaning. The shape grew larger, filled the room. But what if you're wrong? What if peace is the highest state? What if I'm not taking anything away? What if I'm giving everything back? Courage's whole body trembled. Not from fear, from the effort of not believing. Because it would be so easy. To believe, to accept, to let Muriel be happy even if she wasn't Muriel anymore. The shape reached out, a hand made of mist, gentle. You can rest too, right now. No more fear, no more fighting. Just come here. Let me care for you, like I care for them. The hand touched Courage's head. Warm, soft, kind. Everything in him wanted to lean into it. Everything except one small part. The part that remembered Muriel laughing at his jokes, real laughing, messy, human. The part that remembered Eustace yelling, mean, alive. The part that knew happiness without choice wasn't happiness at all. That part screamed. Not in his head, out loud. The scream started small, grew. Courage's mouth opened wider than should be possible. The sound came from somewhere deep, primal. Tune force, reality bending. The scream was defiance given form. The mist pulled back. Not hurt, surprised. The scream grew louder. Courage's whole body vibrated. The floor cracked. The windows rattled. The house itself recoiled. In his throat, something burned. Bright, hot, opposite of entropy. The scream became light, white, cutting, pure. It hit the mist, passed through, hit the glass in Muriel's pocket. The glass glowed, pulsed. The thing inside thrashed. Courage kept screaming. His vision blurred, his body shook apart. But he didn't stop. The glass began to change. The thing inside compressed, folded. The entropy didn't disappear, just contained, structured, locked. The scream peaked, shattered every window in the house, turned the walls translucent, then stopped. Courage collapsed, gasping, his throat raw. The glass in Muriel's pocket was different now, still green, still pulsing, but crystalline, geometrical, perfect. Neospore, not destroyed, not removed, just frozen, locked into a pattern it couldn't escape. The mist drew back completely, reformed. The shape stood, looked at Courage, silent. Then it laughed, not mocking, not angry, delighted, remarkable. You didn't destroy it, you couldn't, but you organized it. Trapped entropy in structure. How wonderfully futile. Courage tried to stand, couldn't. His legs were liquid. The shape knelt, brought its face close. You think you've won. You think you've saved them. But look. Courage looked at Muriel. The flowers were still there. Eustace was still transformed. They didn't change back. Because this isn't a curse, little one. It's a choice. And they've already chosen. Muriel stood, walked to Courage, picked him up, held him. Poor baby, she whispered. You tried so hard. He whimpered. She carried him to the couch, sat, rocked him gently. The shape watched, patient. The neospore will hold. For now, maybe years, maybe centuries. But entropy is patient. And when it wakes, and it will wake, I'll still be here. waiting. Because I'm not your enemy. I'm the ending, and endings are inevitable. The shape began to fade, not leaving, just receding. You fought well, you loved deeply, but love isn't enough to stop decay, only to make it beautiful. Remember that. The presence thinned, spread, became part of the air again, the walls, the ground. Muriel hummed, rocked courage, the flowers on her shoulders swayed. Eustace sat in his chair, stared at nothing, content. Outside the corn swayed. The garden bloomed. Nowhere breathed. The neo-spore pulsed in Muriel's pocket. Locked, contained. Temporary. Courage lay in her arms. Exhausted, defeated. Victorious. Both. Neither. He'd stopped it. But he hadn't saved anything. Muriel was still gone, just wearing a smile. Eustace was still lost, just comfortable. And the thing he'd locked away would wake eventually. But not today. Not today. He closed his eyes. Let Muriel hold him. She was warm, familiar, wrong. But she was all he had. Outside, something vast and ancient and unfathomably patient settled back into the earth. Not defeated, just delayed. And that was enough. For now. The house creaked. The flowers bloomed. And in the space between heartbeats, Courage understood something terrible. He couldn't win this. He could only survive it. One day at a time. Fighting not to save them, but to remember who they used to be. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. The neospore pulsed. Once. Steady, like a heartbeat or a timer. Counting down to the day, Courage would have to scream again. 3 days passed, or maybe 3 weeks. Time felt loose, unreliable. The sun rose green, set green. The difference between day and night was just a matter of thickness. Courage stood on the porch. He stood there every morning, every evening, watching. The corn had stopped growing taller. It just maintained now, swayed, breathed. The flowers opened and closed on schedule. Routine. Like lungs. The garden had stabilized, found equilibrium. Everything grew at exactly the rate it decayed. Perfect balance, beautiful, terrible. Muriel came out with tea. She moved slowly, gracefully. The flowers covered her arms completely now, crept up her neck. She didn't seem to notice. Drink something, dear. Courage looked at the cup. Steam rose, smelled normal. Probably was normal. He didn't drink. Muriel sighed, set the cup down, sat in her chair, the one next to Eustace's. Both chairs had roots now, growing down through the porch, into the ground, anchored. You can't stand guard forever, she said. He could try. She knit. The scarf had stopped growing yesterday. Finally. It filled the living room, spilled out the windows. The neighbors would complain if there were neighbors. If there were complaints that mattered. Eustace emerged. Slowly. His face was the last thing left. Everything else was smooth, dark, seamless. He looked like a statue learning to walk. He sat without speaking, stared at the garden. They did this every day now. Sat, watched, existed. Courage stayed standing. In Muriel's pocket, the neospore pulsed, steady, locked, holding. But something had changed. 2 days ago, Courage had buried it. Not far, just in the yard. Muriel had been sleeping, flowers blooming in her hair. He'd carefully taken it from her pocket, carried it outside, dug. The ground had welcomed it, opened, accepted, closed over it gently. Now it sat 3 feet down, pulsing, waiting. Muriel hadn't noticed it was gone, or if she didn't care. The flowers didn't need the glass anymore. They had taken root independently. The neospore just sat in the dark, beating, patient. Courage checked on it every few hours, dug, looked, covered it back up. Still there. Still locked. Still temporary. The voice hadn't spoken in days, not directly, but it was there, in the wind, in the way the corn bent, in the spaces between Muriel's words. Always there, just waiting. A car appeared on the horizon. Courage's ears went up, alert. It wasn't Katz's van. Different. Blue, moving slowly, uncertain. It stopped at the edge of the property, where the fence used to be, where the wall of corn started. A woman got out, middle-aged, confused. She looked at the corn, at the house, at the green light. She called out, "Hello, is anyone home?" Muriel looked up. Oh, another visitor. She stood, started toward the woman. Courage barked, sharp. Muriel paused, looked back. "It's rude not to greet guests," he barked again, planted himself between her and the corn. Muriel frowned. Courage, really? The woman at the edge took a step forward. The corn swayed toward her, welcoming. She stopped. Something in her face changed. Uncertainty became unease. "I think I have the wrong address," she said. She got back in her car, left quickly. Muriel watched her go, sighed. "You're scaring people away." Good. She shook her head, went back to her chair, back to knitting. Eustace hadn't moved, hadn't noticed, just stared at the garden with empty contentment. Courage watched the road. The dust settled. No more cars came. They never did anymore. People avoided nowhere now, not consciously, just felt wrong, took different routes, forgot why they were coming, remembered urgent business elsewhere. The corruption was polite that way. It didn't spread by force, just invitation. And most people somewhere deep down knew not to accept. Night came. Courage didn't go inside. He'd stopped sleeping inside a week ago. Too soft, too warm, too much like acceptance. He curled up on the porch, cold, hard, uncomfortable, real. The stars were green now, or maybe they'd always been green and he'd just never noticed. Hard to tell. The neospore pulsed underground. He could feel it. A faint vibration, like a second heartbeat. Slower than his, steadier, counting down to what he didn't know. Just knew it was counting. The voice came then, not to him, just near him, passing by. Still watching. Courage didn't respond. Still fighting. His ears twitched. Good. The struggle matters, not because you'll win, but because it proves you care. And caring is beautiful, even when futile. The presence moved through, like wind, like breath, like time. I'll be here when you're ready. In a day, in a year, in a century. Entropy is patient, and so am I. The voice faded. Not gone, never gone. Just quiet again. Courage laid his head on his paws, watched the corn, watched the stars, watched the door. Inside, Muriel hummed. The flowers on her shoulders swayed. She was happy, completely, perfectly. Just not herself. Eustace slept in his chair. Didn't snore anymore. Didn't dream, just existed. Peaceful, gone. Both of them gone. But breathing, alive, safe, sort of. Courage closed his eyes. Didn't sleep, just rested. Tomorrow he'd stand guard again, and the day after. And the day after that. Watching, waiting, holding the line. Not because he could win, because he couldn't let go. Underground, the neospore pulsed. In the garden, something laughed. Quiet, fond, eternal. The house settled deeper into the ground, roots spreading, anchoring, becoming part of the landscape. Nowhere bloomed, and would bloom forever. Patient, kind, inevitable. But not today. Courage opened his eyes, looked at the horizon, at the line between here and everywhere else. The line was holding, for now. He stood, stretched, checked the yard. The neospore still pulsed, still locked, still there. He returned to his post, sat, watched. The sun rose green, the corn breathed. Muriel sang softly inside, and courage kept watch. Day after day, night after night, not winning, not losing, just there. Between his family and the thing that loved them too much. The thing that would wait forever for him to understand. But understanding meant surrender. And surrender meant forgetting. So he stood and watched and remembered. For all of them. The only one left who could. Somewhere far away in spaces between thoughts, in the warmth of decay, in the patience of entropy, something smiled. Not cruel, not kind, just inevitable. And courage, small and scared and stubborn, stared back. Not today. The words had become a ritual, a prayer, a promise. Not today, not yet, not ever if he could help it. Even knowing he couldn't. The neospore pulsed. Courage stayed, and the world kept turning, green and growing and wrong and beautiful. Forever. Or until forever ended. Whichever came first.